as Beth would always say, if it's Thursday, then it's Think Tank Thursday. And I'm really glad to be here today, sitting in for Beth. So give us lots of thumbs up for that. I'm really honored to be here for her. And we have our special guest, and it's really, to me, it's very, very special because as some of you know, I kind of teach communications as well. I am not to Jeff's level, but I've loved working with Jeff a little bit on crisis communications, and I know that he's worked with some of our customers in a way that was really, really significant. So thank you, Jeff, for that. He's going to continue this series today and next week. So don't forget about next week. Next Think Tank Thursday, we're going to be here as well. So I'm going to just turn it over to Jeff and say, Jeff, crisis communication extraordinaire. We're so thrilled you're here. Let's go. Let's go.
I've been having a lot of fun with this in the midst of it's by anyone's standard, it's been a tumultuous time. It hasn't been fun for most people. So I think we're desperate to find the fun where we can have it, and this is part of it. I absolutely love working with dedicated people who are really passionate about the attractions industry, about family entertainment, about providing some fun to a group of people who really desperately need some fun out there in the world right now. So thank you for the opportunity. It has been a really illuminating experience as I've gotten to know a good number of members of the community, and I've been asking them, you know, what can I share? How can I help? What can I do? What do you need? And what I have heard is, okay, look, we're probably going to survive, maybe not, but what we don't know is how we're going to get there. What are we going to do to actually grow a business? Like, I'm barely keeping my nostrils above water. I have been asked for some practical, easy to implement, basic ground level ideas on what we can do in order to calm fears. We have a population who desperately wants to be entertained right now. They're just afraid. How can we build that trust? How can we restore credibility? How can we ultimately get them in our doors and ultimately bounce back from what we're dealing with, and we're coming back even stronger? So obviously, everyone is familiar with a little thing out there called the coronavirus. It's the largest crisis to hit the global attractions community, certainly in our lifetimes. I would argue this is the biggest crisis to affect the travel, tourism, and leisure industries since World War II. This has been absolutely devastating, and unfortunately, we've already started to see the impacts. Average operators, if they're open, are open at reduced capacity. I was on a webinar yesterday that said 75% of you are seeing a decrease in numbers, but your overhead costs aren't really going down. As a result, you're bleeding, and you're bleeding to death. In fact, 95% have experienced some level of decrease in business. 3/4 of you have at least gone through one round of layoffs and are considering what long-term impacts that have. So we're going to spend half an hour or so. We're going to talk about some tips and strategies on how to ride out the storm, advice on how to reopen, how to get people to trust and visit you. So if that's you, you're in the right place. If you're stressed about the future of your attraction, if you've gone through layoffs, if you're worried about how do you communicate to your employees? How do you look after your employees? How do you look after your families, their families? You're looking for the words. Are you being able to just come up with something in your head that can calm things down? Breathe some sandy, I call it, into long-term business decisions, purchasing decisions, growth decisions, layoffs, shutdowns, growth, all of these things. What are you supposed to be doing? How do you figure this all out right now? Especially if you're tired of putting together a promotion or a marketing plan only to have current events completely rip that apart. I was sitting in on a behind-the-scenes tour of an entertainment center last week. The guy showed us 4 or 5 major promotions that had, they had the artwork designed, and they said, okay, we're going to do that, and threw it out. And okay, let's try it now, throw it out. Right? If that's you, you're in the right place. Obviously, we're going to go through some talk about messaging. That's the whole nature of what it is we're going to talk about. So the big message everyone's talking about is COVID. And we've seen it. We've seen the decreased bookings. We've seen the chaotic effect that this is happening. And I'm here to tell you that there is really good news, because COVID's not the problem. Decreased bookings are not the problem. Decreased bookings are a symptom. They're a symptom of the real problem. The real problem is, really simply, you're just not trusted. People don't trust you. And it's not personal. They don't trust anyone right now. So how can we get people, and by people, maybe it's the moms, maybe it's your future customers, maybe it's your suppliers, maybe it's your employees, maybe it's your investors. How can we get them to trust you? See, it's not unique to you. If you're looking at this and you're just kind of holding your head in your hands like those guys before, that's not uncommon, because most attractions are in the same boat. They are really, really great at promotion. They've got buy one, get one deals. They've got 10% off coupons. They have email lists with the 10, 15, 40,000 people, past customers. But they don't have what I call a proactive stakeholder management process. That's a lot of syllables for how are we going to reach out to the right people at the right time. Long story short, you just don't have the right process. So I'm going to walk you through the process that we need to have in order to have you bounce back even stronger. Sound good? All right. So
I'm excited. This is great.
This is good. Well, and in terms of housekeeping, throw in the comments. I'm heckle friendly. I'll warn you, Laura, I can't see the comments because my slides cover up the screen. So if you've got stuff that needs to jump in there, don't hesitate. We'll keep it loose and informal.
Great. And JB, if you happen to see posts or comments on Facebook, let us know. Just pop right in.
So if you were around last week, we talked about facts versus emotion, because I am very fond of saying it's not about facts. No one cares how clean your facility is. No one cares how often you've brought in the industrial defogging machine. No one cares what your reduced hours are. They care because they need to know, but that's not what they're really asking. I call it the monster under the bed problem. And if you were here last week, you're familiar with the monster under the bed problem, where I'm a dad, and my kids are thankfully a little bit older now, but when they were 6, they'd come running into my bedroom at 1 a.m. and they're like, Dad, there's a monster under the bed. So my job is not to kick the door down and say, there's no such thing as monsters, go back to sleep. My job is to sit there, calm him down, rub his back, give him a big squeezy hug, make him, reassure him that Daddy's there and that everything is going to be fine, that he lives in a safe house. That's what your customers need. They don't need facts. They need an emotional response to what they think is a factual problem. And we talked about how you're going to do that. We showed this particular pie graph. Now, the blue was honesty. Are you telling the truth? The green was dedication, or was competency. Do you actually know what it is you're talking about? Yellow went to dedication. Yes, we're going to sleep at the Family Entertainment Center every night until we are convinced that it is absolutely the safest place in the world to stay. But it all boils down to the big red slice of the pie. 50% of whether or not someone is going to trust you boils down to one simple emotion. You get that emotion right, you're golden. If you get that emotion wrong, you're dead. And it all boils down to empathy. They need to know that you know how they feel. It's not about facts. It's not about data. It's not about industrial microbial standards. It's not about any of that stuff. They simply need to know, look, you're asking a lot of tough questions. They're questions we've asked ourselves. And that's why I can say our facility is absolutely safe. Let me tell you why. But they need to know that you know how they feel. Once you get that golden, once you get that it's, I call it fire retardant foam. Right now, it feels like our house is on fire. It's crazy, it's scary, it's smoke-filled, it's chaotic, and we want to rush in there with hammer and nails and drywall and start banging together hammer and nails and putting up walls and fix the damage. But the room is still on fire. You can't do it. You need to put the fire out first. Empathy is like a fire extinguisher. It just covers everything in with foam, and it sucks all the energy out. It sucks all the drama, sucks all the trauma out of the conversation. And then, but only then, can you go in with the hammer and the nails and the drywall and repair the damage. But first, you need to put the fire out. So we talked about that last week. It's not a fun time out there, but I'm here to tell you that that's what leadership is all about. I usually hate to give political examples, and especially for an international audience. But let me show you a few different people throughout history. And I'm gonna give you a couple examples of different U.S. presidents. Regardless of where you are on the political spectrum, everyone's going to know this guy. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. Was largely responsible one way or another for the death of the Soviet Union. 20, 30 years before that, John F. Kennedy stared down the Russians during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Keep going back in history. Abraham Lincoln stitched a country back together in the bloodiest conflict, which remains the bloodiest conflict in U.S. history. Several decades before that, George Washington freezing to death crossing the Delaware. The tough times are good leaders. These are the leaders that people remember. Because I bet unless you're a hardcore political nerd and historical junkie, you won't know who this guy is. Single-handedly led the U.S. through the greatest economic boon in history. It's Calvin Coolidge, by the way, in the 1920s. And then the 1930s hit, and we all know what happened then. But people don't remember the good times. They remember who was in charge during the bad times, and this is your opportunity to be a fantastic leader. You're going to do that by answering some really tough questions that are out there. These are just a sample of some of the questions that I've personally received from different members of the attractions in the entertainment community. I'm considering layoffs. Who do I keep? Who do I lay off? I don't even know. How can I convince suppliers to give me some more time? How can I convince suppliers that we're going to be around, that they want to work with us? What if this keeps going and I don't know how long we can go like this? How do I convince my suppliers or my vendors or my customers to pay me if they think I may go bankrupt? There's a lot of really hard unknowns out there. It's scary. I'll be the first to say it's a scary time. And this is where you need to be your own rock. This is where tough leadership shows its moments. This is where really great leaders excel. And what I'm going to show you is what I call the rock messaging statement. Doesn't matter what's going on out there. It doesn't matter how crazy it is. It doesn't matter how chaotic it is. You're going to be able to know what to say to people in order to calm them down, build trust, build credibility, and ultimately build your own profitability as long as you follow the framework. So I have I call it the key message framework. This is normally, by the way, this is normally stuff I would never give away for free. This is, you normally have to sit in on my paid crisis communications or media training exercises in order to even get this stuff.
Thank you, thank you.
I call it a recipe, and a recipe is kind of an interesting approach for this. I cook well. I'm a pretty good cook, but I'm not a good baker. But even I can bake a birthday cake if I go to the grocery store and I get the thing in a box. Because you take the brown goo and you put it in the pan. Yeah, and forgive me because I'm totally gonna get the portions and the recipe ingredients wrong, but call it a quarter cup of oil, half a cup of water, and an egg. You put it all in there, you heat it up, stir it, heat it up to 350 degrees in the oven for 20 minutes, it pops out, and you've got birthday cake. Now, what happens if you forget the egg, you put it in the oven, you bring it out, and then you go, oh, I forgot the egg, and you add the egg after? You don't have birthday cake.
Excellent,
right?
yeah.
If you get the proportions of the water and the oil wrong, you don't have birthday cake, you have an oily mess, right? If you decide that you're going to cook it at 700 degrees for 10 minutes instead of 350 degrees for 20 minutes, right? You don't have birthday cake, you've got charcoal, right?
Yeah, yep.
You have to follow the recipe, and I'm a stickler on follow the recipe, follow the framework. So the framework looks like this. There are 7 to 11 words, not 6, not 12, 7 to 11, scientifically proven. 7 is your bare minimum, 11 is almost too many. This is your rock message. You're going to back that up by a supporting point that's based on facts. Now, the facts are not there to be your message. Your facts are there to back up your message. They're there to support your message. Then you're going to back it up with a supporting point based on your own personal experience. And you're going to conclude with those same 7 to 11 words verbatim. Now, right now, I get that this looks really abstract. You're probably sitting there and scratching your head and going, I don't get it. And that's okay, because I'm going to walk you through it. But we're also missing the most important point of the whole framework, which would be empathy. Remember, if you're only going to remember one thing, please let it be empathy. Empathy is such a critical factor. So let me walk you through just a completely hypothetical example. Say I'm the owner of Jeff's Fun Center, and I'm concerned. I'm in a state that has reopened, but the coronavirus, caseloads are increasingly going up. As a result, the population is getting increasingly scared. I'm looking at my books. I'm looking at my numbers. I'm looking at some stuff. And for whatever reason, based on investor input, based on what the community is telling me, the smartest and safest play for me right now is to do the unthinkable, and that's actually to temporarily close the facility. I now have to convince my investors, my employees, my customers that closing my facility is the best, it's the best move forward as I take a drink. So what would that look like? So empathy. Hey, you know what, Laura, I know you're asking some really tough questions, and that's why I can say closing the fun center is the best way to save it. 10 words. Closing the fun center is the best way to save it. Now, right now, even if we had 15% occupancy, it would cost more in food and salaries and fees to stay open than we're taking in. And unfortunately, we don't even have 15% occupancy. I have seen firsthand what happens when people delay making a decision. It's not a happy decision, but we need to take clear action right now. We need to choose a direction that will save us money. We need to choose a direction that will save our facility, which is why I can say closing the fun center is the best way to save it. So,
I love that. I love this. I don't mean to interrupt you, but just to say, when you're saying those 7 to 11 words, one thing I've heard about, and you've probably seen this as well, when you're so much talking about trust. I mean, every single time we talk to you, we're talking about trust. One thing I've seen that people do when they're scrambling, or I don't want to say lying, but they don't know what to say, is they start saying a whole lot of words and they just aren't really linked all together, and they're just kind of, because and they get all really nervous. And so it's the exact opposite of what you're saying about trust. And so these 7 to 11 words, I think, are just brilliant.
Well, and the real beauty, if you've got the good 7 to 11 words, is that it answers most of the really difficult questions. You know, well, why can't you just stay open another couple weeks? Well, we've looked at that, and closing the fun center right now is the best way to save the fun center.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, how come, are you being as clean as you could be? You know what? Closing the fun center is the best way to save it, the fun center. That allows us to go in and bring in industrial defogging machines and to spend some time going a real deep clean of the facility, but it ultimately boils back to the same 7 to 11 words.
Right. And the same could be said about, well, what about all your employees? Well, closing the fun center is the best way to save it.
And I've asked myself that same question: how can we save their jobs? Mm-hmm. And it's really hard. Unfortunately, I think closing the fun center is the best way to save the fun center, and ultimately, it's the best way to save their jobs.
Right.
Boom. Same answer. Same 7 to 11 words. Now, those 7 to 11 words are not easy to get to, but when you have them, they are your rock. That's that lighthouse in the middle of the storm. They have to be truthful. They have to be, this is not about how to lie to your customers or how to lie to your investors. It will never work. But when you've got your rock, it becomes so critically stabilizing in all of the things that you're doing. There are different ways to do it. You know what? I'm going to do everything I can to save this property. Well, how are we going to do this? You know what? I don't know the answer to that, but I'll tell you this: I'm going to do everything I can to save this property. Where you typically run into issues are what I call the hedges and the guarantees. Because what people need are rocks. They need stability. They need certainty right now. You think about it from your perspective. How desperate are you right now to just know what's going to happen next week, just to know what's going to happen next month, or even for the rest of 2020. I think everyone's in that same boat. They are desperate to know. They're looking for certainty. That's what they're looking to you for. They're looking to you for certainty. And so what you can't get away with is, I should be able to save everyone's job. That's not a certainty statement. So you bring it back onto itself. Can you guarantee me that everyone's going to get their job back? I'll tell you this: I guarantee I'm doing everything I can to save everyone's job. There's your rock. There's your statement. There's your certainty. It's scary out there. What you desperately need, what your audience desperately needs, is certainty from you. So what are those 7 to 11 words? Now, that again, no one knows. Is coronavirus going to continue to spiral out of control? Maybe, maybe not. Is the IAAPA convention in November going to happen? Hopefully. Maybe, maybe not. Are states going to shut down? Are states going to reopen? Are we going to develop a vaccine? Are airlines going to close? Are airlines going to open? Are travel
Kids going to go to school?
Are the kids going to go to school? We don't know. So that's why when people are scrambling, they're desperately looking for certainty. So remember that rock. You are your own rock. You need to live that rock. You need to love that rock. You need that rock, but more importantly, your people, your audiences need you to live on that rock. You need to know that you're going to do everything you can. If you honestly believe that, if you can look people in the eye and carry that certainty with you, you become the leader that everyone else desperately needs right now. Because it's true. We don't know. We don't know if your facility is safe. We don't know what's going to happen with vaccines. We don't know what's going to happen with timelines, quarantines, shutdowns, reopenings. And that's all right. It's okay. And why is it okay? Because you have a rock. That's what messaging does for you. You become your own leadership stability example. Now, it's a quick lesson today, but it's a critically important lesson. It's one of those things that I believe with fervor. I hope you can hear the passion I'm trying to deliver. This is what is going to save your butt over the next 6 months.
Yeah.
You need to have that rock. Sorry. Are you?
So what would you say is the best? And maybe you're going to go into this, but what would you say is the best way for people to at least begin to write their rock?
So,
what pointers or little tips for them to begin to do this example?
There are 2 or 3 things going on. What I'm trying to. So what we're going to do is for next week's trainer, what is it? Think Tank Thursday.
Think Tank Thursday.
What's that?
Think Tank Thursday.
Think Tank Thursday. We're going to take a look at a kind of a detailed plan on who exactly you're going to reach out to and who, and part of it is understanding what they're going to need, because every audience is going to need something a little bit different for you. But on an internal level, long before we get into that, I think you kind of have to sit there one night and say, what are the things that I believe to be true? What are the things that I can stitch into my soul that I know to be true? What are these things? And it's not going to work if you're sitting there going, maybe we'll do this, maybe we won't. I don't know. You need to have that level of internal certainty. And maybe for me, like, for example, let's take a look. I'll give you a very personal example. People are asking me, hey, are you going to go to IAAPA in November? And frankly, the factual answer to that is, I don't know. I'm in Canada. I don't know if the border is going to be open. I don't know the business case of going to IAAPA in a down year. I'm an entrepreneur myself. I know that but here's what I do know. I know I really want to go. I really want to go and have an awesome show, right? And so when people say, hey, are you going to go with IAAPA? I'm going to go, I'm going to take a look in October. I'm really looking forward to going. You need. So
that's your rock. That's your rock statement.
That's my rock statement. I really hope so.
Yeah.
It's not perfect. It's not great, but you can't argue with it, right?
That's right. That's beautiful. That's right.
Yeah.
Because
So
it's about you.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
and you can make it about your audience. I really hope I can meet you face to face there. I'm,
Yeah.
we're not sure what's going to happen in terms of travel bans and restrictions and everything else. I do know I'm really looking forward to seeing you.
Yeah.
You know,
Great.
obviously everyone's got their own particular situation, their own particular questions, their own particular story, and maybe you don't feel like sharing with everyone on the webinar. I'm going to tell you, I've set some time aside for the next couple of weeks. If you want to sit down and just give me heck, you just want to talk to me about what's going to happen with the NFL, that's fine too. But tell me about your own personal story, and we'll walk with you. We'll figure out, okay, here's what would work. Here's what you want to think about. Here's what you don't want to think about. All of those sorts of things. All you have to do is go to Book with Jeff. We'll get on a one-on-one Zoom call. Hopefully you've figured out that I'm non-threatening and non-fattening. And we
Nice.
can work through some of that stuff together. In the
Great.
guise of total transparency, if there's room for us to do some work together, we'll have a conversation about what that looks like. But it's not a sales conversation. It's not a sales pitch. It's just genuinely meant to give some help to the people who really need the help these days. So
Thank you.
if you have any thoughts or any questions, don't hesitate. Happy to have those conversations one-on-one.
That's
I know
great.
this was a quick, kind of a quickie version of Think Tank Thursday. Do we want to
Well,
go through the housekeeping on what's going to
well,
happen next?
yeah, but I just also want to say, first of all, thank you so much.
Mm,
And I appreciated that you did just a really quick summary of what we talked about last week, because maybe not everybody was here last week. But I can tell you, even though I was here last week, there were some things that you said, and I was like, oh, that's right, because I'd forgotten. And so I really appreciated that real quick overview. And this whole rock idea is fascinating and so smart. And you can tell it's smart because it's so simple.